This, fascinating. It involves the discovery of a body that dates, as you can see by the headline, back to between AD 126 and AD 228. That's from Britain. But the body didn't belong to someone who even was born in the UK. It was most likely they travelled there. And this is being worked out through two basic forms of scientific inquiry that I find absolutely fascinating. So I want to talk about this and a bit more. I'll start with the basics. In 2017, they found an individual, or the remains of an individual outside Cambridge. You can see there in the UK. And what they were able to do was two main processes of investigation to understand more about that individual. In fact, they did loads, but I'm going to focus on two main ones. First of all, the individual was between the ages of 18 and 25 at point of death, and they were male. It's unclear what caused the death because there's no obvious signs on the skeleton. Of course, many things can go wrong that don't involve that. Unfortunately, there's not always a way of understanding those. If anything's soft tissue, it's not going to stick around as long as you don't really understand it. There's also no evidence of grave goods. This individual was just buried and left, which, you know, unfortunately was a way on, and the, I suppose, experience of a lot of people. Now, what they're able to do from the DNA, which they found in the inner ear, by the way, was work out that this person had ancestry or DNA markers that linked them to this area in blue, particularly Armenia, it seems, which is an area in the south central part of that blue region. Now, this area was also linked heavily with the Sarmatians, and the Sarmatians were a nomadic people. Herodotus had first spoken of them. They'd existed in various parts of Europe, sort of Eastern Europe, moving over from sort of Ukraine area at various points in time. But this seems to have been their sort of their main lands, as it were. So you might ask yourself from that, okay, that's interesting, but how do we know that individual didn't just have a parent or both parents from this part of the world? Because after all, genetic markers don't indicate anything other than where other people who share them also grew up. Well, what they did was they looked at the teeth, and this I'm always finding this kind of stuff fascinating, but perhaps even more so in this instance because it gives us a story. Now, what they found was the teeth, the isotopes in the teeth, up to the age of 5, do not match anywhere in the UK. In fact, most of sort of Western Europe. In fact, it looks like they would have been far further to the east. And again, it's been speculated that these these isotopes match more clearly with the foodstuffs eaten in this area. They think it was very much a drier area that the individual grew up in. And then they also found that there was a change in isotopes at the age of 9. So again, the diet changed dramatically. So what we might speculate from that, and as this has been proposed, is that the individual grew up at the age of 5 in that part of the world, and then at the age of 9 moved on again. So there must have been a gradual movement of that individual. Perhaps at the age of 5 they moved out, they moved west, and then at some point they moved west again. So exactly when they appeared in the UK, unclear. We don't know that. It might have been a year before they died. It might have been a week. It may have been a couple of years. Just not clear on that front. So I find all of this absolutely fascinating, and hopefully they're able to find more details from it. But well done to the experts involved, and thanks for giving us, because after all, this is a story about an individual, and I've said in previous videos, I'm all about stories about the lesser known people, the average people who you may have met in the ancient world.